You have dreams. More than enough. You've imagined the life, the freedom, the purpose. You've seen it in your head so many times. You could describe it with your eyes closed. You've written it in journals. You've talked about it late at night with people who felt safe. You've watched others live pieces of it and whispered to yourself, "One day, that's going to be me." And maybe you meant it. Maybe you still do. But the truth is, nothing has changed. Not really. Because while your dreams got louder, your system stayed silent. You don't need more dreams. You need a structure strong enough to carry the ones you already have. Because without a system, a dream is just emotional noise. It feels good, but it leads nowhere. And no one tells you this when you're younger. They say things like, "Follow your dreams. Just visualize it. If you believe, you can achieve." But what happens when you believe deeply and still go nowhere? What happens when you feel the potential burning inside you, but your days don't match that fire? What happens when you're full of vision, but constantly falling short on execution? It starts to hurt, not because you're lazy, but because your inner world and your outer life are at war. And eventually, that hurts more than failure. Here's what no one likes to admit. Most people are not suffering from a lack of dreams. They're suffering from a lack of rhythm. They're drowning in clarity of desire and starving for clarity of action. And that's where the shift must begin. Because dreaming is safe, but systems require responsibility. Dreaming feels expansive. Systems feel restrictive at first. But here's the paradox. A system is what protects the dream. It's the scaffolding, the bridge, the frame that holds the vision long enough for it to become real. You can't live the life you imagine on inspiration alone. At some point, the dream needs structure. At some point, you stop dreaming and start building. That's where most people stall. Not at the vision, but at the lack of foundation beneath it. Stephen Covey saw this long before it became popular to talk about habits or systems or structure. He understood that motivation is fleeting, emotion is unreliable, and potential, without a process, eventually turns to frustration. He taught that unless your dreams are connected to a system of execution, they will fade or worse, torment you quietly for the rest of your life. And that's what we're here to shift. Because you don't need to dream bigger. You need to organize your life around the dreams you already have. You need a framework, one that can carry your potential without cracking under pressure. You need a system, and that's exactly what we're going to build together. If you're ready to stop starting over and finally give your dreams a home in reality, subscribe now. This is where that shift begins. We live in a world obsessed with the dream. Dream boards, vision journals, future scripts. We're told again and again, if you can see it, you can live it. But the truth? You can see it every day and still never touch it. Because vision is not what creates a life. Structure does. And this is the painful gap where most people get stuck. They're awake enough to dream, but not trained enough to build. They have passion, but no plan. Desire, but no direction. Potential, but no path. So they stay caught in the loop. Writing new affirmations, chasing new goals, repeating new mantras. But always landing in the same place. They mistake clarity for progress, emotion for momentum. And they wonder why nothing sticks. It's not because they're wrong. It's because they were taught the first half of the equation. Dream big, but never taught the other half. Build smart. That's where the system comes in. Because a system is how a dream survives the real world. A system doesn't just organize your tasks. It organizes your life around what matters most. A system is a container for consistency. It's a framework that makes discipline possible. It's what allows your values to show up in your calendar, your identity to show up in your habits, and your future to show up in your present. Without a system, even the most powerful dream collapses under pressure, because no dream is strong enough to carry itself. You carry it with the system you live by, and that's what most people misunderstand. They think systems are for businesses, for engineers, for high performers. They don't see the truth. Everyone already has a system. The question is, does your system serve your dream or sabotage it? Your system is your morning routine, your mental environment, your weekly patterns, your response to stress, your priorities when no one is watching. Your system is what you default to, not what you intend. It's your autopilot, and your autopilot is shaping your life more than your goals ever will. That's why more dreams won't save you. A better system will. Now, let's be honest. Building a system doesn't sound exciting. It sounds mechanical. It sounds slow. But that's only because we've been conditioned to associate emotion with transformation. We want change to feel like fire, not structure. But structure is what holds the fire in place. Structure is what turns passion into practice. Structure is what makes your vision repeatable, sustainable, and real. And here's the beautiful irony. The more structured your system becomes, the more freedom your dream has to breathe. It's not restriction. It's liberation through rhythm. And that rhythm isn't something you find. It's something you design, step by step, layer by layer. That's what this video is about. Not dreaming harder, but building something strong enough to carry what you've already dreamed. Because if your life is built on feeling, it will collapse every time the feeling fades. But if your life is built on design, you can lose motivation, get tired, face resistance, and still keep going. That's the difference between the person who dreams and the one who finishes. And you already know which one you're meant to be. Stephen Covey saw it decades before most people were ready to hear it. Dreams don't change your life. Systems do. He didn't use trendy language. He didn't talk about hacks, dopamine, or discipline tricks. He talked about principles, unchanging, non-negotiable truths that sit underneath all true transformation. And at the heart of his work were two habits that most people never fully apply because they require something deeper than motivation. They require design. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit 3, put first things first. That's the system. That's the entire bridge from vision to execution. Habit 2 is the dream, the destination. It's the moment you define what matters. It's where you clarify your values, your mission, your legacy. You step back from the chaos of today and ask, what kind of life am I really trying to build? But habit 3 is where it gets real. It's not about emotion anymore. It's about alignment. It's where your calendar starts to match your values, where your daily choices stop being reactive and start being intentional, where your time reflects your purpose, not just your pressure. And Covey didn't just teach this. He lived it. He showed that a system isn't a list of tasks. It's a way of living. It's a framework you return to, not a feeling you chase. Most people skip habit 3. They fall in love with the dream. They write it down, visualize it, feel inspired by it. But when Monday comes, their day is run by urgency, not importance. They respond to the loudest voice, not the deepest value. And slowly, the dream fades, not because it wasn't powerful, but because it never got protected by a system. Covey's genius was this. He knew that transformation doesn't come from doing more. It comes from living differently. It's not about cramming more goals into your life. It's about building your life around what matters most and protecting it through rhythm. That's what habit 3 is. A rhythm of protection, a shield for your priorities, a daily recommitment to the vision you claimed in habit 2. And here's the truth. If you don't put first things first, they won't just come second. They'll disappear. Because the world is full of noise, urgency, and demands that are louder than your purpose. Only a system can protect what matters when life starts to pull you in every direction. That's why Covey's work wasn't motivational. It was structural. He wasn't just giving you insight. He was giving you a blueprint, one that outlives your moods, your environment, and even your current level of belief. So here's the shift. You don't need more inspiration. You need integration, a system where your goals aren't just dreams. They're embedded in your day, visible, measurable, aligned. And you don't build that system once. You live inside it. You let it guide you, not rigidly, but rhythmically. You adapt it as you grow, because that's what real systems do. They evolve as you evolve. But they never forget your core. This is what Covey meant by living a principle-centered life, not a results-centered life, not a people-pleasing life, not a reactive life, but a life built from the inside out. That's the system, and once you live from it, you stop negotiating with your goals. You don't wonder if you're making progress. You know, because your life reflects it. Now it's your turn. What's one part of your life where the dream is clear, but the system is missing? What's one area where you're stuck in vision, but lacking rhythm? Share it in the comments. Let this be the moment where the shift begins. From dreamer to designer, from scattered to structured, you don't need another goal. You need a system that makes your goals inevitable. You already know what you want. That's not the issue. The issue is this: how do you build something real around it? Covey gave us the answer. He didn't promise results overnight. He promised rhythm, structure, and alignment. So here's how you begin. Step 1. Name your dream clearly. Not vaguely. Not poetically. Specifically. Not, I want to be successful. But, I want to earn a living doing meaningful work that supports my values. Not, I want to be healthier. But, I want to move my body every day and feel strong when I wake up. Why does this matter? Because a system can't support a blurry dream. You can't build around what you haven't defined. This is habit 2 in action. Begin with the end in mind, but make the end clear enough that your actions know where to go. Now step 2. Design your non-negotiables. These are not goals. They are behaviors, done daily or weekly, that pull your dream into the present. Covey called this putting first things first. It means your highest priorities go into your life before anything else can steal their place. Ask yourself, what actions, if done consistently, would guarantee I move toward this dream? Maybe it's 30 minutes of deep focus every morning. Maybe it's turning off your phone before bed. Maybe it's planning your week every Sunday night. Small things, done consistently, are more powerful than big things done occasionally. These are your system anchors. They create rhythm, and rhythm creates results. Step 3. Make it visual. Systems live best when they're seen. Covey was a fan of weekly planners, not just to schedule tasks, but to see your life in one place. Use a tool that works for you, digital or paper. What matters is visibility. When you see your priorities, you act on them more often. When you don't, you fall back into reacting. And that's where most systems fail. They live in your head, not in your environment. A dream in your head competes with every distraction. A dream in your system becomes part of your day. Step 4. Protect your focus. No system survives constant interruption, and the modern world is built to interrupt you. Covey taught us to live from principle, not urgency. He said, the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. That means turning off what pulls you away and turning toward what pulls you forward. It's okay to say no. It's okay to be unavailable. It's okay to make your dream inconvenient for others. Because if you don't protect your focus, your system won't hold, and your dream won't survive. Step 5. Review and adapt weekly. This is where the system becomes sustainable, not by being perfect, but by being alive. Every week, take 10 to 15 minutes to ask, what worked? What didn't? Where did I drift? Where did I stay aligned? Covey believed in the power of the weekly compass, a short reflection to reorient you to what matters, not as punishment, as recalibration. This step keeps the system from becoming rigid or outdated. It keeps you human, flexible, honest, because growth is messy, but systems make it meaningful. Now here's the truth most people miss. You don't build the perfect system in one day. You build it the way you build anything that lasts, one layer at a time. You test it. You adjust it. You keep what works. You replace what doesn't. But you don't abandon the dream just because the first structure wasn't perfect. You refine it. You stay with it. Because it's not just a tool. It's a reflection of who you're becoming. And over time, that system becomes more than a structure. It becomes a rhythm, a philosophy, a way of living, one that protects your vision and proves to you every day that you're capable of more than you thought. Be honest. How many times have you said, "This time, it's different," only to find yourself back in the same loop? How many plans have you made at midnight that unraveled by Tuesday morning? How many dreams have you buried quietly, telling yourself it just wasn't the right time? Most of us don't lack desire. We lack structure. But deeper than that, we lack honest reflection, because it's easier to rewrite the goal than it is to confront the pattern. It's easier to set new intentions than it is to look at the habits we've protected out of comfort. It's easier to believe that one day we'll get there than to admit that the way we're living today makes that impossible. That's the hard truth most never face. And yet, you already know. You know where your time goes when no one's watching. You know the rituals that silently sabotage your progress. You know the moments you betray your own priorities, because comfort whispered louder than clarity. This isn't about shame. It's about alignment, because the dream you hold so tightly in your mind is begging to be held just as tightly in your habits. And that doesn't happen with emotion. It happens with awareness. So take a breath and ask yourself gently but truthfully, what part of me resists systems? What part of me clings to chaos and calls it freedom? What do I believe about structure that keeps me from embracing it? What story am I telling myself about discipline that's costing me my future? These questions aren't here to punish you. They're here to reveal you. Because underneath the noise of distraction, in the loops of delay, is someone who's deeply capable of building a life of rhythm and purpose. You may not see that version clearly yet, but they're not far away. They're just on the other side of a few honest decisions. And one of them starts here. Ask yourself, what would your day look like if it truly honored your vision? Not in theory, in action. What time would you wake up? What would you protect on your calendar? What would you stop doing, not out of guilt, but out of alignment? What would become sacred again? These are not small questions. They're structural. Because the life you're building is not shaped by what you say. It's shaped by what you repeat. And what you repeat is shaped by what you're willing to confront. Today can be the day you stop performing for the dream and start preparing for it. You already have the vision. Now let your reflection give birth to the system it deserves. If this helped you see yourself more clearly, give it a like. Not for anyone else, but to mark this moment as the one where the shift began. At first, it feels like effort. You write down your plan. You block time on your calendar. You wake up earlier, push through resistance. Say no to things that once ruled your day. It feels mechanical, artificial, almost forced. But that's how every transformation begins. Not as instinct, but as intention. You're not just building a new life. You're building a new self. And that new self doesn't just do different things. It thinks differently. It decides differently. It walks into the same old patterns and responds with something new. That's the moment the shift becomes identity. When the system you once had to remember becomes the rhythm you naturally return to. This is what most people don't realize. When you stay with a structure long enough, it stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like alignment. You no longer try to be consistent. You just are. Because the version of you who lives inside that system is not in conflict with your future anymore. They're your future in real time. And that's the real gift of this work. Not that you become more productive, not that you check more boxes, but that you become someone you trust. Someone who does what they said they'd do, even when no one's watching, even when it's inconvenient, even when the fire of motivation is cooled. Because now, it's not about pressure. It's about principle. It's not about rules. It's about rhythm. It's not about proving anything. It's about embodying who you truly are. And that kind of transformation doesn't scream. It doesn't make noise. It's quiet, consistent, powerful in a way most people will never understand. You start living in alignment with your values, not occasionally, but daily. You start honoring your time as sacred, not as something to fill, but something to invest. You stop being addicted to emotion and start being anchored in rhythm, people around you will notice. They'll call it self-control. They'll call it discipline. They'll ask how you stay so focused. But they won't see the deeper truth. You're no longer living from willpower. You're living from identity. And that identity is rooted in something far more stable than mood, or pressure, or urgency. It's rooted in design. That's the moment you stop hoping you'll get there and start realizing you're already on the way. You don't chase the dream anymore. You live inside the process that makes the dream inevitable. Your mornings carry meaning. Your decisions reflect direction. Your energy isn't scattered, it's channeled. And slowly, the dream you once held in your head starts to show up in your habits, your environment, your relationships. You become the bridge, not between who you are and who you want to be, but between the dream and the life that now holds it. This is what Stephen Covey meant when he spoke of living a principle-centered life, where your system is no longer something you maintain. It's something that expresses you. And when that happens, you don't just change your habits. You change your standard, your posture, your presence. You become someone who no longer negotiates with excuses because you've tasted the strength of self-respect. And that taste changes everything. You don't need another spark. You don't need more vision boards, more podcasts, more moments of late-night inspiration that fade with the sunrise. What you need is rhythm, something steady, quiet, strong enough to carry you when motivation dissolves, alive enough to adapt, but firm enough to keep you aligned. A system is not a prison. It's a compass, a place to return when the world gets loud and the voices pull you off course. Because life will pull every day. Urgency, distraction, noise. But the person who lives by design doesn't get lost in that storm. They move through it with intention, not perfectly, but consistently. That's who you're becoming. Not just someone with big dreams, but someone whose life is built to hold them. The truth is, you've always had the dream, but now you have the path. And it doesn't start with a massive overhaul. It starts here. One priority chosen on purpose. One promise kept quietly. One rhythm honored without applause. And from there, the foundation grows. Not for the world to see, not to prove anything, but because something sacred happens. When your actions begin to reflect your essence, that's where confidence comes from. That's where peace lives. That's where the dream finally stops floating and starts becoming home. So from this moment on, you don't wait for the right energy. You build the right system and let that system build you, because it will. It will shape how you move, how you think, how you recover, how you choose. And over time, you'll look around and realize you didn't just chase the dream. You became the kind of person who never needed to chase it again. It found you in your rhythm, in your quiet repetition, in your daily return to what truly matters. If this video grounded you, if it reminded you of what you already know but haven't lived fully yet, subscribe now. This space is here to hold you steady, Al. Not with noise, but with truth, rhythm, and real alignment. And if you're ready to keep walking this path, watch the next video in this playlist. Because once you understand the power of systems, you'll realize the next step is not harder. It's just deeper, and I promise, it's worth it.